Now, there's one company, the oldest 1.5 million, and I made a deal with them, and I got 1.1 or 1.2, and everybody thought it was crazy. I don't think the invoice is going to be about much longer, and I think I was one of the last people to get the money, and then they went bust after.
No unicorns, no brands. Just hard-working people who built their business from the ground up, sharing their experience so others can learn. Presented by Larissa Feeney from Kinor, this is Real Business Conversations.
Hello, my name is Larissa Feeney with a very warm welcome today for Stephen McCormick, Managing Director of Foyle and Marine Dredging Limited. Stephen, you're very welcome.
Thanks very much, Larissa. Nice to be here.
Stephen, can you please maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all, your background and where you've come from?
I suppose the background was I grew up in Greencastle, a small fishing village, and as part of the community, you're always kind of involved in it as a young age growing up, and kind of knew, always was into boats and machinery, and couldn't wait to leave school. Now, before I left school, I started mending nets, was always in kind of net mending and things like that, involved in the fishing. Went to done the junior cert, and Carndonna, left there. I went to the fishery school and done my engineering course, and then I started on the boats then, so I started fishing. I was about 19 and I left the fishing and kind of started what I'm at here now, so with it.
So you've been at it for your whole life then, and for your whole life, Stephen, you've been working in dredging or related activities?
And the marine industry my whole life. I grew up with a house, sure, look, we could throw the stone into water, so we were right beside it.
Beautiful, beautiful part of the world. So then tell me, how did Foyle and Marine Dredging begin?
This is a funny one now. I was, as I say, I was fishing, and I was quite young. I was 19, I suppose, and I started to build a house, and I bought a bit of land. I was always mad about excavators and mad about boats. So when I started to build the house, I bought an excavator to clear the site, and that was the start of the machinery end of it. And then kind of got on that. My grandfather had a bit of an old gravel pit up in the mountain, and I said I'd start exploring that, see would it work, and started to develop that there at that age. And then I was around 2008, I suppose, the downturn come, and it didn't really work out. And then I had a couple of machines at that stage, and there was a local lad was developing a site on down Sweet Nellies actually. He needed sea defence, so I priced it to remove the rock and do the sea defence, and that was the taste of the marine, so it was for the Foyle and Marine Dredging, or the dredging aspect. It wasn't actually, it was actually McCormick Transport, I think, or something at that stage, or McCormick Quarries. And then we just developed into that there, and then actually put the two together. The downturn wasn't the machinery work, you could see it quieting off, and then if you put the two together, the marine aspect and the excavators, it's just as dredging, so it is. So that's how I actually get onto the dredging end of it.
And you mentioned there that you started whenever you were 19. Did you always work for yourself? Was it always a goal to work for yourself, or is that just the way it happened?
Not really. As I say, now, funny, when I was younger, like actually my babysitter, he was a net maker, and I suppose I was about 6 or 7, and I was always out, you'd follow the knitting needles, you'd call them, for the nets, and I actually would have been just helping him follow needles, and then I'd start splicing, and then he would show me how to mend. And then I suppose when I was about 8 or 9, I used to do the salmon nets for the fishermen, the local fishermen. I would actually, it was £20 a sheet, no matter how bad or how good it was. So I done that after school, so when I was primary school, and then on into secondary school, always worked for myself, but no, never really thought about it. I liked engineering, and there was actually the Veronica, one of McHugh's boats. She was a big vessel, big factory ship, and I started off that there, trainee, and ended up relief chief nurse, so I did. A very good experience on that boat and a very good team, actually, a lot of good teachers. And then the mechanic in the end of it now really helped with the dredging, so it did, plus the excavators, and plus I was always under, even driving the boats, always small boats around home, and everything led under. But no, never, wouldn't have said I was going out to start my own company. It just I suppose it just happened, to be honest with you.
So you started whenever you were a child, and here you are now, operating this business. And how many of a team do you have at the minute, Stephen?
I'll be honest, I'd say there could be 30 or 40, I'm not sure.
30 or 40. How have you managed to upskill yourself you did your qualification in engineering, but engineering didn't prepare you to run a business or give you the skills to run a business. How did you manage to upskill yourself over all those years to be in a position where you can manage that team and the business today?
Well, to be honest with us, you were actually a great help too. Like, that's been straight up with you, the business end of it. Like I hadn't a clue. It was, to be honest, it was yourself we were relying on at the very start. Like, there's many times you were down at the house, going through stuff with us. And look, it's like everything else, you make mistakes. But even in the marine end, we're funny, we were on about it last night. There's and it'd be like the MSO is called in Ireland. It'd be like for the cars for an MOT. And I remember the first time I went down, I hadn't a clue. And your man says, I can arrest you. And I said, why? I says, are you the guards? And he looked at me, and I looked at him, but he knew I didn't know. And then he explained it to me. I said, I never heard of it, but and to be honest, what he says to me, he says, how could I be so horrible to you when you're being so nice to me? And he actually helped me out. He says, and he knew I was legit. Anything he ever asked me to do, I done it. And I wasn't trying to duck and dive. I just honestly didn't know, and he gave me good guidance. And that was my kind of attitude, even with all the clients. Everybody, look, nobody knows everything, but I always say, once you do it, you have to learn from your mistakes. And that's kind of come that now the men then too. And look, I'm always on site, so I'm with the men. So the I'd never asked them to do anything that I wouldn't do. So they kind of realise that.
Yeah, so that learning from your mistakes or asking for help, knowing that you don't know everything and looking for help from those that do is obviously what you did, and that stood to you. Maybe talk to me a little bit about the customers, because your industry, it's the marine industry. It's a company that dredges, so you're dredging, off the coast, and I'm guessing your customer base must be quite narrow, Stephen. Is it? How have you built relationships with them?
It does. It would be. It'd be quite narrow. So it would. Same thing. Start with one, and they like the work ethic. There's no such thing as a problem, only a solution. Worked hammer and tongue to get there. As I always says too, you're not a customer until you come back the second time.
Yes, you always said that.
Always says that. And like as I always says too, 100% of nothing's nothing. Like that's and that's the way I looked at it too. And I could see an opening. Like, fair enough. Yes, we started with the dredging, and then the more you're on it, we'd actually offer. I don't think there's actually too many doing it. We'd offer a full range. Like we would do the rock armour. It's a one-stop shop. The rock armour, the dredging, the demolition, and it actually accompanied each other. Like, normally you'd have 3 or 4 different subbies to tend with, and one would be fighting with others, and he's holding me up. So I seen an opening there straight away. I says, no, it was actually one of the jobs, and I says, I'm not going on to do. I says, give me the whole lot, or I'm not doing it, because I said, we'll only end up fighting. I could see it coming. And
that worked?
It did. And we were a wee bit more expensive, but in the long run, they realised then we came in ahead of time, and they said they saved a fortune on that there, because they knew we could control it.
How did you get over that initial barrier of price then? If you were going in and you were more expensive than your competitors, but you obviously got the job, and then once you were able to prove yourself, they came back for more. But how did you get over that initial barrier in the first place?
Look, to be honest, they sat down, and I suppose they knew me, like, from just the dredging. They knew I'd pull it off. But like, yes, we're a wee bit more expensive, but I factored in a small bit of risk into that, because I knew, like, a lot of the boys would actually just buy the work to get in, and then they would know, like, if you have 3 different companies, they know your aspect depends on another boy finishing his, and if he doesn't finish it, you have a fair idea, no, he's not going to do that in the time he says it. You're going to be there standing. So knowing the industry and knowing the job, I knew that, and I factored in. I didn't go mental on it, but you have to cover yourself too. Like, it's not a charity as well. And then, but once they seen that, but as I say, well, we came in ahead of time, because we were able to relate. Look, it was all in-house, the 3 kind of divisions. So we sat down every week and we had a meeting. Says, right, where are you with us? Where are you? And then we worked it out. Right, we can fine tune that. So we actually, the jobs were coming in quicker for the clients. They were, some of them. So
offering the complete package to the client made sense. So it was a win-win for everybody then.
It was. Because as I always said, you've only one person to roar at.
Yeah. Do they do that a lot, Stephen?
No, they do not. Come here, if they're roaring at you, there's something going wrong.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
No,
absolutely.
They don't know, that's it. But it is, look, I say that, look, and they understand exactly what I mean. Like, you've only one person to fight with, and it is a lot easier. Like.
Yeah, because it is a very difficult business. I mean, there's, all of the normal issues that businesses on land deal with, but as well as that, you are very vulnerable to the weather, obviously. and the prevailing conditions of the time. So that must affect timelines and, you know, how quick you can finish jobs and delays and things like that.
Extremely. And that's the thing that people don't appreciate. And that's like, as I always say, it's like a 10-minute job. You won't do 6 of them an hour. No, people just like, that's the way that, so, oh, you'll do that in 10 minutes. You'll do 6. No, you won't. You have to allow X, Y, and Z. You'll do 3 if you're lucky.
Yeah. Stephen, talk to me about the team and how you have, how first of all, did you manage to build a skilled workforce and keep them? At the moment, we're in an economy with full employment. Businesses are finding it very difficult to attract and retain good people. What is your experience?
Well, we started off, as you know, there was only, I think there was myself and Mickey, and there was 3 of us to start off with just for the first year or so, our first 6 months. Now, it did grow fairly quick. Most of the people that came in was actually through the fishing industry. So I knew a lot of boys that I worked with. A lot of them was friends as well, and they're still here to this day. So that there, as I say, I'm on the ground with the lads. Like, they know, like, I go through as much headache as they do, maybe more, because I have to run the business too at the end of the day. And then the company, look, it's a small company too, and we're very close knit. We're all friends, and there's a lot of nationalities, like with Eastern Europeans, with UK, Irish. There is a lot of nationalities, but we actually all get on. We're all friends. We get on well, and the company is very we'd be lenient, not lenient, but like if somebody has to go home for something, that's not an issue. Like, look, come here, I'm a family man myself, so I understand that, and they just like that. We get it done. Don't push anybody too hard. If they're not, we encourage them to better themselves, but we wouldn't push them and we wouldn't dog them. And then like the management staff, like the other director, Jason Farron, like, Jason's actually on board here. I'm on one of the ships here today, and Jason's on board. We get on, like we sit down in the evening and we chat as friends do. The office staff, look, come here, the company just started to grow bit by bit. The name's getting out there now. And the dredging industry now, we're kind of fairly well known in Ireland and UK, so we are. And our equipment has come on leaps and bounds. I'd say we run the freshest fleet of large excavators for dredging in UK and Ireland. And anybody that's on the machinery sees that and they appreciate that, and everybody likes driving the big stuff. And so we're starting to get more personnel through that there. So LinkedIn, I have to say, has really helped. So it has. Is
it? Tell me about that. How do you use LinkedIn?
I don't. I wouldn't know how to be honest with you, but there was Kieran Cunningham would be very good at, he'd promote us through it on LinkedIn, and I think there's a Facebook page too. I don't know. No, since we started advertising, LinkedIn has come on leaps and bounds. We've got a lot of new customers through it, and even though this is a small industry, a lot of people that new customers would come, they said they've never heard of us, they couldn't believe it, and it was through LinkedIn we got us.
Isn't that fascinating? And do you use LinkedIn? So you use LinkedIn to network, and you use LinkedIn to attract people as well to work in the business. So for the two.
Aye, we'd advertise positions in on LinkedIn through it, and we get a lot of we do get a lot of feedback on it.
And would you use any type of traditional networking in your industry? Do you do any type of events, or do you go to anything to network to try to find new business, or is it all through word of mouth?
Word of mouth. Now, it's a small industry. It's a big industry, but it's a small industry. It's very close knit. Everybody knows everybody, and it's the same kind of boys. There's not many young ones coming into the industry at the minute. Even on the fishing, funny I hear too, chatting to the local lads. It's funny now. The young ones they're not interested in it.
Why not? Why do you think that's the case?
I don't know. Look, to be honest with you, I think I don't know. This is a rough and tough game now. To be honest, it is hard work. But look, the rewards is good too. It's good money, so it is. And we do good time off. It's time for time. Some of them now other contracts. Other people have different contracts. Like, we leave it very open. We're very open as a company. We suit the needs of the employee. Like there's a lot of ones know. We say, well, what suits you? Because the family life. Like, someone 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. Someone month on, month off. Someone month on, 2 weeks off. Now, to be honest, for management, it's a nightmare to organise it, so it is, and it's actually more costly, but it keeps the lads happy, so you have to, in this environment, you have to do it.
That's one of the things, though, that you're doing for morale, and to keep morale up, and to keep the team happy, and to keep them with you. It's working.
It is, and as I say, like, it is a small industry, and the crew we have, like, they're very good, they're very loyal, and that's why, look, we're, as I always say, it's a two-way street too. We have to appreciate that and see it.
And I mean, you're one of those industries, Stephen, where there's no opportunity for, well, it's remote working, but it's remote working not as we know it. These guys are away from home for stretches of time, and there's no opportunity to offer that flexibility that, other businesses can offer.
No, a lot of them like take it or leave it, and that's it. No, that's the rotation. That's it. Them companies are nearly too big, if you know what I mean. We're in a nice niche size, like we're not too small, not too big.
Stephen, over the course of the last 10 years or so, maybe a bit more, you talked about the recession and the downturn and how that meant that you had to look at different ways of generating business over that time. What other unexpected challenges did you have over the last number of years that maybe you didn't expect?
There's enough challenges within the industry, if you know what I mean. Look, I started the company actually on the recession. That's when I started. And since we started, we were ever quiet. We were never not busy.
Yeah, it was keeping up with demand was probably your biggest challenge.
That was, look, the more we grew, and I never really wanted to go to the size we are. Even it was actually the customers was pushing us under it.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is, most definitely. Like that was like a lot of jobs. I said, no, it's too big. Don't want this. It's too much. A couple of them was very good, and actually, and I said that'll cost a lot of money for the equipment, and they actually stood up the money and they said we'll buy it. They bought the equipment for us to push us under it.
So they wanted you that badly that they were willing to pay for equipment at the beginning to allow you to do the job?
Yep.
So does that indicate then that even cash flow or, having that upfront investment, I suppose, allowed you to grow over time?
No, cash flow's a funny one like that there. Look, you have to be very careful with cash flow. It is crucial, as every business knows. There was factored in, fair enough, there might have been one item a plant was needed, it was factored in, there was a repayment schedule on them things. It definitely did help. It helped us to get onto the next level. But cash flows, you're always struggling with it. Like if you have a breakdown, here's a major breakdown, and you could be down for weeks and it costs an arm and a leg, as they say. And to be honest, I suppose that one of the things actually that turned around was, well, the best thing for us was actually COVID, believe it or not. I was too busy to sit back and look at things, and when we were owed a lot of money, and it was extremely hard to get it on. Now there's one company, I've not mentioned names, but they owed us, I think it was 1.5 million, and I knew COVID was coming, and I made a deal with them, and I got 1.1 or 1.2, and everybody thought it was crazy. I said, I don't think them boys is going to be about much longer, and I think I was one of the last people to get the money, and then they went bust after it, so they did not long after it. But if I waited everything, because at time actually to sit in the house, we wrote a lot of money, not just that job, different projects. And I started writing down, just put pen to paper throughout the years, and there was a lot of repeat business from a few clients, but they weren't good payers, and it was cash flow. They were hanging, we couldn't grow because of them. So that's when we kind of promoted ourselves through LinkedIn and different things, and I said, right, we're going to have to get new main contractors. So, and that's what we'd done, and we were owed money. I was able to give me time to chase. We got all the money in. We got the coffers up quite well. Everything was owed in. We were on projects that were standing, and we were getting a few pounds from that there. And at more than all, it was headspace. What it was to reevaluate everything, and we changed. We says, right, we wrote down a few of the companies, and we says, right, we have to target these people. They're not coming to us. They don't know us. They have to, and we did, and it actually helped in it. And we're still doing projects with some of them today, swear, and we still get other ones from ones we actually approached to over COVID.
Fascinating. Okay, and you're still working with them?
We are, because the other ones were just, they were drip feeding you, and they had you because they always held money on you, so you always had to go back. But when COVID, we got all the money off them. I said, no, I'm not going back. that allowed
you. And do you think if COVID never happened, would you have ever have identified that or had the headspace to think about it, to deeply think about it?
No, do you know what? Honestly, I wouldn't. No, because I had 2 to 3 months. Like I could see it myself, and it was just great to get the head clear. To be honest, it was a busy phone.
And to maintain those customer relationships now, how do you do that? How do you make sure that another dredging company doesn't come in and undercut you in some way and take your customers?
Well, as I said to them, look, we started to say their gear, our equipment's very good now. Like we started, our equipment was scrap. It was but we were always known to get the job done. We could, as I say, my background's mechanical, and there's my brother Michael Orange and Jason Farr and Kevin Norris. There's a good few of us here is very mechanical, so we're able to keep things going. But now the fact that until we actually spent money. We actually made money, if you know what I mean. It was actually until we bought one of our new machines, we noticed the difference within months. We were losing on average 2 to 3 days a week because of breakdowns. But the new equipment, we're working 7 days a week, full production. So you started to see things coming in better then, so you didn't know. And then the clients seen, they always knew the method was there, the will was there to get the job done, and then with good equipment. Now, as I always say to them, I'm not the cheapest, but I'm definitely not the dearest. And it's like everything else. If you want to go for the cheap price, that's grand. And look, we'll come back and we'll clean it up whenever we have to. And that's actually happened quite a few times. We offer a good fair price. I think the price is fair to be honest. I think the client sees that too, and that's, look, hence they come back. It's all, like, our business, 80% is repeat business for us. And
it's not all about price though, Stephen, is it?
No, it's not. Look, to be honest, look, there's a lot of the directors and owners would just have to phone to me and anytime, 24/7, and they know that, like, and that if they have an issue, we'll sort it out. And you don't get too many phone calls to get, but there's a good relationship with them, and they know we're very transparent. Not just myself, the whole team, like everybody on Foyle. And look, to be honest with you, 90% of the places I go, people don't even know I own the company. They think I'm just a worker, and that's why I like it. I don't want, that's why it's easier for me, showing us.
I want to talk to you a little bit about the equipment, because you told us there how you invested in equipment, and I do remember, I've known you for a long time, and I remember whenever you started, and I remember the repairs and maintenance costs that you would have incurred at that time, and there was always a lot going on because the equipment needed to be maintained, and it was older equipment. So then you invested. Now, a question that people who are listening are going to have is, how did you pay for that equipment? Because it's a big investment, and it was probably a risk, I would think, for you, even though it's obviously paid off. So how did you manage to fund it?
Well, at the start, look, to be honest, as you know, we were always buying second-hand gear because the banks wouldn't speak to us. The HP crowds wouldn't talk to us. And then eventually we got, I think it was TBF, we got a break from them. They gave us a new machine, so that was Hitachi Finance. And then, as I say, the cash did actually start to roll in, and we with less breakdowns, so the overheads were going down. The banks then actually started to speak to us then, and now they do speak to us, to be honest, they do. Like, it's gone the opposite.
They love you now.
I'm actually not taking their calls as such. So. But at the start, hey, look, it was the other way about. And look, there was, to be honest with you, one of the biggest was, there was a friend of mine which was in this industry. He took a risk, a punt on me, so he did. And I went to him a business plan, and it was a private individual that gave me my biggest break. There's no two ways about it. Now, look, I didn't get it for nothing. I paid a lot more than what I paid the bank interest, but it was worth it. It was.
So that was almost like, I suppose, if it happened today, you would call him like an angel investor or something. He trusted you. He backed you as a person.
Yeah.
And believed in you and believed in the business. And that obviously worked out really well for everybody.
It did, because I remember speaking to him, and it was around this time of year, so it was. And I went down to meet him, and I came down with all the accounts, the last 3 years' accounts. We were sitting having a cup of coffee, and I says, "Have you the accounts for you?" I says, "Do you?" And he says, "Go away with them." He says, "I couldn't bear looking at them." He says, "You can make them look whatever way you want." And he says, "Right." He says, "Can you pay for it?" I says, "You know I can." I says, "Look, I worked with the man for years." And he says, "Right, we'll go with it."
Wow. Just like that?
A wee bit more to it, but basically that was the hard look. It was very, very straightforward now.
Brilliant. Just in terms of you then as an individual, so your confidence in making the decisions for the business over the years, you must have grown, and you have grown in confidence, because I've known you a long time, and I can see that. How did you grow your confidence in knowing that you were making the right decisions, or having the faith that you were making the right decisions for the business?
That's hard. You have to take a leap of faith too. Like, you have to err on the side of caution. Like, I wouldn't be. I do sit down and look. To be honest with you, a lot of big decisions, like, I would get a pen and paper, pros and cons, write it down, and it's as simple as that there. And then now there's other ones you have to throw caution to the one too. Now, like, as I say, the marine element is very risky, but a good team around me, and you know their capabilities. I know my capabilities. I know the machinery's capabilities, and we would push it. I'd never push it 100%, but sometimes you have to push it 95 difficult to answer, but
yeah, no, it's a good answer. No, it's a great answer. And whenever you write down the pros and cons, do you have other people in the business there with you that you would discuss it with and get their take on it? Would you and kind of come to a collaborative decision on the way forward?
I would look, yes, and sometimes they agree and sometimes they don't, and sometimes I plough on, and luckily enough it works out. Now, if they're very strongly against it, you can look at. I have to be realistic too, and you have to. Sometimes you can get too much and personally involved in it, and you have to sit back and look at it. As you know, my wife too is involved in it, and we would discuss it as well. And Kieran's very she's always for me to push it on. But if she doesn't feel it's good, I would listen, because she's normally right.
Are you good at delegating then to the team? You mentioned that you like to be there, and we've seen you there today. Are you good at delegating tasks, or would you prefer to do them yourself?
Yeah, if I'm there, like, it's very, come here, naturally it comes to me, and it's very hard for me to pass over to somebody else, whether I'm here. But yes, I can delegate, I can walk away from it, and I'm 100% happy with the boys, what they do. I wouldn't even question it. But when I'm on site, I like, it's very hard to be the boss and take orders from somebody else, if you know what I mean. Like, that's, but yes, and we do. Like, funny, we were just earlier on, and I says, we'll do this here, and one of the Jason says, no, we're not. And I says, you know what, you're right, and that's the way we want it.
Yeah. Okay, excellent.
Like, that's another thing. You can't, like, my word is not, as I always say, everybody has an opinion, like, and I'd always listen to everybody. Like, if you get 10 cents off everybody, it doesn't belong to you. You have a pound, like.
And just on that point then, if you were to look back over the last number of years, I know you've worked with us, and has there been any other external support that has helped you manage the business that you've received that you felt that the business has benefited from?
There definitely is. Like, look, yourselves been one of the biggest involvement in it, and then Mark Johnson was actually, he was there for a short period of time, but it was a crucial time. It was actually when the company was kind of growing, so it was in the first big step, and there was a lot of advice was very valuable. We were happy with what he'd done, and then there was other companies like even we pushed on for the ISO, so we did for the environmental health and safety and equipment. And that's big standing, like, so it is. And no, there is different ones. Look, even meeting new people all the time and understand it does affect you, and not affects you, it guides you and steers you. You think, God, they're doing that a wee bit different. Maybe we could adopt from that there. Yeah,
learning from others. You haven't benefited, have you, in any way, or maybe you have, from government support like Enterprise Ireland or local enterprise office?
Look, to be honest with you, not where we needed it. And that's one thing I have to say is very, very unfair with upbringing in general, but it's the computer says no. Like, I remember when I went in to get my mortgage, like, it was a bankman I was talking to, and he was speaking to the person. Like, I was 18, 19 years of age, and I got a mortgage for a house. If I went in now, even now with what I own the company, I dare say I wouldn't get one, because I don't take big wages out of the company. I'm not take a modest wage, and I don't think I would get it now. And that's the same with, like, even there when we were trying. Like, if the banks would have worked with us at an early stage, would have been we would have been 10, 15 years ahead of ourselves, but they didn't, and it's not fair. Even funny, we did last year, we got one of them grants, I can't remember which one it was, but it was 10 years too late.
So you feel that the lack of support, well, I suppose from government agencies, that lack of support that you felt has slowed down your growth, and certainly the lack of support or the late entry of the banks in terms of their support to the business also slowed down growth?
Look, come here, they're too cautious. Yes, you have to understand, you have to be cautious, but look, that as I say, the man that gave me the break, he weighed up his options too, but knowing he knew it was a good punt. The banks wouldn't do it, and like that grant we got last year, only for we had the money in the account, you wouldn't have got it, because you had to buy everything up front, and then you had to wait 6 months till you got a return back on it. It was only we could afford it, but for a company or a company starting up that needs that there boost, it would put their light right.
Yeah, it just emphasises the importance of those investors in Indigenous businesses early on in the journey, because as you rightly say, the banks are too cautious, they can't take the risk, or they won't take the risk. So there's a place for those that are more in favour of taking risks, I suppose. and who are less cautious to back a business like yours. And it pays off, you know, and that's evident from the growth that you've seen. Talk to me about the last 15 years in business, the changes that you've seen, not just in your business, Stephen, but in business in general. How do you think it is today for somebody starting a business? Do you think it's the same as it was for you? Is it harder or is it easier?
Harder. God love me coming on this.
Really?
I know. Look, the paperwork. Look, health and safety, yes. But the problem is health and safety's gone crazy. It's encouraging people nobody move, nobody will get hurt. Like, that's the way it is. And it's just common sense has totally gone out. And I've seen it actually gone the other way, that it's dangerous, that it's too safe. Because it didn't say in the method statement that you could do that. So, like, you can't do that, but you have to move out of the road. That's going to fall on you. But the method says I have to stay here. But no, if you stay there, that will land on you. It's took the young people that is coming on, whatever wee bit you get coming on, they cannot think. They don't have to think that it's there in black and white for them, but it's crippling, so it is. And then for our end of it, like the job now is 50-50 between paperwork and the job. So it was like when we were starting off, it would have been 10% paperwork and 90% job. Now it's 50-50.
So that's a massive change. So even if you were taking in an apprentice now, do you even have an opportunity to show them on the job training in any way, or do they have to split their time across theory and practical? You never would have had that.
Look, we'd love to see young people coming on the industry, and we encourage it. Like, we have actually, look, you might go through 10 and you might get one that would stay. Do you know, that kind of way you keep. And there's a young fella that's just started there recently, and we put him through as like the Safe Pass and then the STCWs, which is for the Marine, like sea survival, first aid, firefighting and all that there. So like, we are investing in them, and that, now fair enough, it comes out and they would shadow, we would put them with somebody that's experienced and they would shadow them, do you know what I mean, for 6 months or whatever, and then you start giving them a wee bit more. We underappreciate it because we're that used to it, but as I always say, like, rule of thumb is one hand for yourself and one hand for the boat. And I always say, if in doubt, don't do it. That's it. And come and ask somebody, because like the assumption is, do not think that's just, no, that's, we would be very health and safety cautious, but it just comes naturally because, look, we know you don't get second chances in the water, so you don't. Yeah,
it's instinctive whenever you've been around it your whole life. Last few questions now, Stephen. I'm not going to keep you too much longer. You've been very good with your time. What was the most important lesson that you've learned over your years as a business owner? Can you think of something?
I take people at face value, and a lot of times I get kicked in the arse over it, which is, it's horrible to say. I still would do it to a certain degree because I'm a great believer in a spit and a handshake.
You trust.
I do trust, and I think you need that in everything. And I think that the ones that keep repeat business, I think they see that and they know that they don't have. Like, there's many times I'd be wrong, and if I'm in an agreement with them and I suffer over it financially, I'd stick to it because I says, well, that's so be it. That's my problem. I agree to it, and that's it. And trust, but I think it's unfortunate it is going out of the industry. But I think it'd be nice to keep it on, but it is going out of it. But maybe I trust too much.
No, I think it's a good trait. I think it's a good trait to trust. The challenge is, I suppose, not to make all of your decision based on trust. That's it. But trust in your gut plays a big part of it, doesn't it?
It does, and that's where the team comes in too. They have to know that there is no. I would say, Jesus, do you know what? I would trust him, but yes, commercially you have to be protected too, because at the end of the day, I'm just running the company. It's not, know what I mean? That's what I always say. Like, it's not fair enough. Yes, I own it, but it's not. I'm running the company. That's it, and it has to be run right. It's not a playground.
Yeah, exactly. You're a custodian, and it'll be passed on to whoever. It's not just here for you, which is a great way to look at it. When did you feel, this is a question now, you're going to laugh at it, right? But what moment made you feel like you made it, that you were successful in the business?
Jeez, I'm still waiting on it.
I knew you were going to say.
Do you know what? Actually, the other day, I got a bit of I was dealing with a big international company, and I was dealing with somebody well up in it, one of the senior management, and there was 3 or 4 of us there, and I went away to take a phone call, and they actually asked, they said, what's the story with Foyle Marine? Like, no, who owns it or what? And they said, so he owns it.
And he did.
And I said, I didn't know this conversation took place, and then one of the boys was telling me after that, I started to laugh because I was actually in my work. He was rotting him, and I was under pressure. And we were going up to a meeting, so it was a fairly substantial meeting, and I just went in. But anyway, come out and I go, geez, and then I looked around and I go, holy jeepers, and this is like, there's one project we're on here. I'm just on this one at the minute, and I go, jeepers, when you look around now, you can see, I can see why he's saying that. Like that's to say it's only a small percentage that's here, but there's a lot of money tied to the key wall here.
And there's a lot of substance behind the business. So the fact that he didn't identify you as the owners because he didn't expect you to be there, I suppose, or to be involved as much in the work as you are. It's fantastic that you do that. What are your plans, Stephen, to further grow the business over the coming years?
I would say growth will be slow coming. We're not. I don't want to go. The size we are is a nice size. It's not. I can manage it. We can all manage it. As I said earlier on, 100% of nothing's nothing. Like I know myself. I could get a heap of equipment and take on a heap of work, and all I would have is just a heap of headaches and no better off. I'd like to just keep the equipment good and upgrade it, and we're comfortable with what we are. Turnovers actually it is very good, but the profit margin's good. And I think if we went on a bigger, I think we would just dilute that through it. And as I say, I can go home for a week now. I couldn't, look, me years ago, I couldn't do it. Like, so I remember my children were born, I was on the boat half an hour later going to work, so it was. Yeah. But now I can relax a bit, and but if it was any bigger, no, I would definitely, people would be very careful that there's like another 20 years and I'll be retired, you know what I mean? The goodness has gone out of everything, like, so you have to enjoy yourself too.
Stephen, final question, you'd be glad to know. What is the one piece of advice you would give to small businesses looking to grow?
Put on the time, put on the effort. It is hard at the start, but come here, if you're confident and you can see it, go for it. But remember, like if you have family too, there is a happy medium, but I know it contradicts itself, but be careful of that too. Like it's once that time's gone, it's gone.
It's very hard, isn't it, to get that balance right, because the work has to go in, especially in the early years of a business, and you and I know a lot of businesses, and I can't think of one that hasn't come with the sacrifice of time in the early years. So it's difficult to get that balance.
It is. Look, and as I say, later on, you get it back then. I suppose that's the other way of looking at it.
Yeah. Well, there is that saying, isn't there? Entrepreneurs work how others won't to live how others can't.
That's very good. I heard that.
Stephen, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time today, and I know that everyone who's going to be listening to the podcast will get a lot out of it. So thank you very much.
No bother, us. Thanks very much. I appreciate it too.
Thank you for listening to Real Business Conversations with Kinor. For more information on this episode, see the description area of this podcast or visit our website, kinor.com. Remember to press follow on your podcast player now so you get a brand new episode every single month. This podcast is produced by dustpod.io for Kinor Finance and Business Services.